I'm Alan Weiss, and this is The Writing on the Wall. Hi, welcome back to Writing on the Wall. I call this episode The Pitiful and the Sorrowful. And I'd like to vent about what I feel are some really pitiful and sorrowful sights. For example, at a football game, the people who hold up a large D and a representation of a fence and call it defense. Do you get it? I'll give you a second. Defense, get it? These people go to games like that and hold up these signs. Pitiful. I think it's sorrowful when I see piercings on a server. I don't want to be in a restaurant with a server whose tongue is pierced or lips are pierced. I imagine these things are removable. You can do it for a few hours on the job. I find it disgusting, sorry. I think it's pitiful to see old pot-bellied guys wearing number 12 jerseys. You know, I hope Tom Brady, who's number 12 here in New England, plays for another 10 years. I hope he plays till he's older than these guys because he's the greatest quarterback who ever lived. Send your letters to Buddy Beagle. But wearing these number 12 jerseys when you look like you couldn't even lift your leg high enough to get into your automobile, I don't think that does it for me. What's pitiful and sorrowful are passengers in first class on airlines drinking at 7 in the morning. No doubt these are upgrades. No doubt some of them are alcoholic. But it's just a sorrowful sight to see. Nobody needs to be drinking at 7 in the morning. And just because the liquor's free doesn't mean you down it. It's pretty pathetic watching people drive with a cigarette in one hand and an iPhone in the other. I saw a woman the other day turning left across traffic with a cigarette in one hand and her iPhone in this hand, somehow hugging the wheel, and on her lap was a small dog. I felt bad for the dog. I think it's pitiful to see any TV reality show with a judge screaming at the people in court, screaming at the litigants, at the plaintiffs, at the defendants, screaming at them and embarrassing them. And these people doing this on television so they get their case settled and maybe make a little money. I think it's sorrowful to see any speaker, any professional speaker, crying on stage. You know why? Because they've cried at that point, at the same point, every time for the last 10 years. Same thing about laughing at a joke. But crying on stage, emotionally manipulative. I think it's pitiful that they allow a moron, well, morons plural, in professional golf matches to shout, "Get in the hole." Somebody hits a driver, I think that's what you call the main club one hits with, on a 500 and something yard hole, and they're screaming, "Get in the hole." Why don't you get in your car and take off? I think the 60-plus biker people revving their engines are a pitiful sight. Here in Rhode Island, if I walk into a biker bar, I lower the average age. But I don't mind it. I don't mind the old biker chicks. I don't mind the tattoos that you can't read anymore because they've spread over so much flesh. Okay, but you don't need at that age to be revving your engines on the street. In fact, some of them have trouble getting astride their machines. I think children running and yelling in restaurants while their parents chat peaceably elsewhere is a pitiful sight. It shows lousy parenting, and it shows these kids are not going to wind up to be very good people. I think people who run out of church early just to save 30 seconds in the parking lot maybe don't understand why they're there. A pitiful sight. And finally, and I think you could anticipate this, some of the most sorrowful people in the world are people who just don't like dogs.